When you shave and you don't have a topic for your live stream, find out. Hey everybody, this is Books Cafe, sponsored by free-ebooks.net. You get count them, 5 free ebooks every month when you join the site, and the site is free forever. So head over there. Normally I like to share my screen and show you the site and some of the cool things that are there, like the origin of life and transmutation of the human race. But for some reason, Chrome won't let me do. You got to go do something, and I don't know what it is, and it's really upsetting. And the other thing is, I'm looking after 11 cats and dogs. So if you hear some barking or you see me throwing something, it's to keep them occupied. So I'm Scott. He's Chaffee.
Hey, Scott.
How are you doing today? How are you doing today, Chaffee?
Awesome. We finally broke the 50-degree barrier in Chicago. We're actually closer to 70 degrees after weeks and weeks of freezing below freezing cold temperatures. So I'm happy.
I haven't been in long pants in 3 months.
Yeah. Now you just made me feel worse. Thanks, Scott.
So one of the things that when it comes to writing is writing what you know and also what you experience. And one of the things that came up as we were trying to decide what to actually talk about today was a conversation you had, I'm assuming at one of your networking events, and or with a bunch of people, because obviously you can't have a conversation by yourself. And I don't think that we're going to get into the topic of the conversation that you had, but it does bring up an interesting talking point, which is, are there things you should not write about or should not talk about? And if so, not what are they, but why are we not allowed to communicate those things, right? I mean, there are taboo topics, and it's weird because
there you go.
when I was growing up, taboo topics were church, politics, and sex, and now none of them are taboo. But you can sure get canceled if you don't know what the taboo topics are and you start talking about them.
Absolutely. So let's not talk about them. No, I'm just kidding. Well, here's the bottom line. It's, why are they taboo in the first place? Okay. So, and if they're taboo and you don't talk about it, what happens to them? Do they stay taboo, or do they, like, all of a sudden all your challenges and issues like disappear because you don't talk about them? So anything you don't like, Scott, you should not talk about, and all of a sudden it will all go away and everything's better. Is that what happens?
No, I think what happens is, I think we've exchanged topics from what, like 500 years ago. One of the dogs just chased one of the cats. Never saw that cat move so fast before in my life. Sorry, excuse me. 500, 700 years ago, if you talked about a taboo topic, the church excommunicated you, which sometimes meant death, sometimes meant stoning, sometimes meant nobody would talk to you ever again. So,
or if you were a witch, you got burned at the stake.
You got burned at the stake, right? So I think that there are things that people believe are true to the point where they will not tolerate an opposing point of view. So in the past, we had the Crusades, because now the Crusades were an excuse to go to war, I think. But, the history books say it was Christians. Stop that. Christians versus
religious persecution, right?
Well, yeah, that was it. Or Jerusalem was taken over by one religion, and then the other religion didn't like it, and they took it back, and it went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So, but I think that where we get to in our society today, quite honestly, is we do not tolerate. We're supposed to be inclusive. We're supposed to be tolerant, but we don't tolerate anybody that doesn't fit what we believe they should. The square peg that if they're round and it's a square peg, like forget it, right?
Right. See,
so I have to mute for a minute. That means you have to talk.
So that is a big challenge, though, is that, a lot of people have these firm beliefs, right? And because of their beliefs, they refuse to listen to anybody else's point of view. And especially here in the United States today, that is a big challenge that we're having in a lot of millennials and a lot of schools and a lot of, the race debate is a huge debate that's going on right now. And it's only gotten bigger, and it's part of the conversation, which we won't go into at my lunch, was about the race debate, where one of the attendees was African American and another one was Caucasian. And the Caucasian lady was talking about how she had to learn and work with other individuals who were African American in her position, and she learned some lessons, and it was a great conversation. Only not everybody is open to those kind of conversations where they have different opposing views, and all of a sudden it's like, instead of discussing facts and stories and feelings and emotions, all you're doing is name calling, and you're an idiot, you're stupid, and yada yada yada. Has nothing to do with the conversation other than you make me feel bad and I don't want to talk to you because now you're stupid. And when in reality, they're bringing up potentially valid points and ideas that you're just refusing to accept or even consider. So
I think you hit on a real problem. One of the main points is if you meet somebody who has an opinion that you cannot accept, the alternate, what do? And name calling and getting angry and throwing things is the response, which shows a level of maturity that I thought we were beyond 200 years ago, but don't seem to be, right? And it's okay, like it's okay to do that. And the reason it's okay to do that is because when you watch the presidential debates or any other political, election talk that's going on, they just say my opponent is a piece of beep, beep, beep. And, they don't talk about, like on YouTube, I watch YouTube, and on YouTube, every once in a while, they show like one of my options right in that first page is someone in the House of Commons in Ottawa, Canada, asking the Prime Minister a question. And the question will be along the lines of, is there snow on the ground outside right now? And the answer will be along the lines of, we're really looking very carefully at the health impact of cold and squeaky toys on the mental health of people talking on live streams. In other words, he never answered the question. He never even came close to saying anything that had anything to do with the topic. And when you have that sort of situation combined with he's a scumbag and she's, something blah, 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 we have not shown or have anything to, like our average person watches 4 hours of TV a day, and all they see are, fictional TV shows where people are yelling and screaming and driving fast cars, or news where people are yelling and screaming and driving fast cars. Like, it's just, we're not showing anything that says this is how you relate to people and have debates and talk. And I think I feel like I was kind of like at the end of that training, right? Because I can remember our teachers saying, okay, here's a question. You take the yes, you take the no. It doesn't matter what you think, and then see what happens. Your turn.
Well, again, it's the art of the spin, the art of the misdirection. All that comes into play, especially when it comes to politics. And I, as you were talking, something came to my head is that because people see celebrities and influential people and politicians and our leaders doing this kind of stuff, they think it's okay because that's who they take example from, right? And so now that these people, especially like you said, the political debates, they're on stage, and instead of talking about facts and data and information, they're talking about name calling each other idiots. And all of a sudden now, oh, well, these are our leaders. And because our leaders are doing it, it gives me permission to do that to other people as well. And so that
Right.
just propagates out there. And I remember, I was in high school, I joined the debate team. And on the debate team, we had Lincoln Douglas debate, which is, if you don't know what that is, go look it up. It's a format of debating where each person gets a set amount of time.
There are
And
rules, right?
there were rules, and the obvious thing was that when you were debating back and forth, you don't just call each other names. Like we actually in high school went to the university law library to do research on laws and facts and rules, as you said, so that would support our position that we're debating. And it wasn't just, oh well, my opponent brings up this law from 1906, and well, he's just an idiot. Like that's not how we debated.
Right.
We had to counteract that law with a different law. And then you had the discussion about which laws were more relevant in the society, which one superseded the other one. So we don't do that anymore, though. So I often get
I think you bring up a really, really good point, and let me just applaud you.
oh well, thanks. But this is Books Cafe, though, Scott. Do you have books, or do we have books on books, efree-ebooks.net, that would help with this discussion? Whatever that discussion. Now here's what I
Let
will
me
say
look.
is that while you're looking, right? Here's what I'll say is that if you have a certain belief and you're going to talk to other people about this belief, one of the best things you can do is educate yourself on that belief. And you educate yourself on that belief by going out to a site like free-ebooks.net, looking to see what other people have written about that topic and reading about it. And so if you educate yourself and read more about it, now you can be better versed on your belief. And I always tell people that it's great that you have certain beliefs and you should have certain beliefs. And I always tell people that you should always question your beliefs. And why should you question your beliefs? You should question your beliefs because the answer that you receive when you question your beliefs is either going to do two things. It's going to make you decide whether that belief should be real or not, first of all, right? So it's going to put in your mind, like, why do I believe this belief? Why do I have this belief? And why do I think it's true? And that answer is either going to make you change your belief because you found a different answer, or it's going to reinforce your belief. And the people that question their beliefs all the time and then are able to reinforce their belief because of the information that they find, those are the people that have the strongest beliefs out there and are able to convince other people of that belief as well because they've asked all these questions and all the data that they found has supported that belief and reinforces that belief. And so, if you want a really strong, unshakable belief, continue to question it because you'll find that the answers are either going to support it or allow you to develop even stronger beliefs that might be a little contrary to that belief in the first place.
Yeah, and the problem is that we've become a community or a society of sound bites and headline readers. We read the headline. I don't know how many times I've read a headline, and then I've read the article, and either the article contradicted the headline or had nothing to do with the headline. But people read it and they just go, yeah, 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 yeah. They skim through everything, and then they come out with this new set of beliefs. It's really a sad form of manipulation, in my opinion.
We call that clickbait, Scott.
Clickbait. I didn't want to get too technical.
Oh, okay. But that's true. It's like people read these headlines, which are designed to attract people to read an article, and they don't read the article because they read the headline and came out with a belief from that headline.
Yeah.
And this was really extremely relevant, I must say, in the time of COVID, right? There were a ton of headlines about COVID that if you actually read the article and read the data that was supporting the article, you'll find that it was, as you said, completely opposite from the headline. The headline was meant to scare people, was meant to interest people, was meant to thrill people into reading things, and they never did. They just took the article and ran with it.
Yeah. Which reminds me, the purpose of all of that was to get this. So don't you forget to hit the like button, leave some comments, subscribe, hit the bell, share this with your friends, tell everybody. We want to grow this community. And our purpose, of course, is to help authors understand how they can get a better community, to grow their community. And also, readers tend to we tend to be bored with the same old from the same old authors. So try something new and try a new author. You don't have to finish the book if you don't like it.
I just want to know where the bell is, Scott, so I can hit it. I'm sure you have some bells there because you got 11 pets.
There you go. That's the closest I have to a bell, the air horn. So what book are you working on now, Chaffee?
I'm working on a couple books, and I'm behind on my schedule. Actually, I'm working on 3 books right now, and I'm behind on schedule on them. 2 of them I'm actually writing myself. That's why they're behind schedule.
Right.
The third one is actually on track. The one that's on track is actually our kids book that we're writing right now. We're writing a Mother's Day kids book, and that's going on. Now, what's interesting about that kids book, though, is that the illustrator that we use for all the images actually lives in Ukraine. She's Ukrainian. And,
wow.
Obviously, if you've been paying attention to anything and not just hiding away in your basement, you know that there's a war going on right now over in Ukraine. And so, we've asked her, like, what's the situation over there? How are you doing? And all that kind of stuff. And fortunately, she's on the western side of Ukraine, or wherever west is for you. And so she's on the opposite end of the fighting that's going on right now. And, only as most Ukrainians are right now, she is basically saying they're coming into our country, they're taking over our country, and we need help. And so it's kind of a scary situation. And
Wow.
We're fortunate that she's safe and she's continuing. Obviously, she still has a family and work and support, and she has to make a living. And it's a scary thing to be in a situation where your country is being invaded. So
yeah,
I was over at my in-laws a couple weeks ago. It wasn't even a couple weeks. It was like a week and a half ago, maybe a week. And we were watching TV and we were watching the news about the Ukrainian war. And my mother-in-law was like, she talked to my wife, and she's like, this really reminds me of when we left Vietnam. Like, they were refugees back in the day.
Right.
And they had to take everything that they could, which was basically nothing, right? Just whatever you had on your body, and leave the country. And as she's watching the news, she's like, this brings back some memories of how it used to be back in the day. And that kind of hit home to me, obviously, because I'm a refugee and I don't remember anything, only I was part of that,
right.
mass migration. So it's not a fun thing when things like this happen. But anyways, fortunately, like I said, our illustrator so far is safe and she's doing well, and I appreciate her and the work that she's doing for us. And
she's illustrating.
And she's illustrating. So
cool. Which you reminded me, I had to make a note. I've been part of, what do they call it when you've got like 10 authors and they each write a chapter and you have a book?
We just call it a co-authored book.
Co-authored book, yeah. So I just finished my second one. My first one was something, I forget the exact title, was like Lessons I Learned from My Dad. And the second one,
Well, Scott's calming down the dogs, the animals. This is the book that you're talking about, Scott. Greatest Lessons I Learned from My Dad by Brian Knight. Only inside, as Scott said, is multiple authors, and each author, if anyone can see this, has a chapter in the book. And I believe, Scott, your chapter somewhere in here. There you go. Chapter 21 is a Scott's chapter. I don't know if that will focus or not. Anyways, this is what a co-authored book is. And it seems like Scott's so busy. And what the co-authored book, what's great about it is that it's every author has a chapter that they're sharing something with. They're sharing an idea, a concept. In this case, every author in this book is sharing a lesson they learned from their dad. So there are in here 28 authors. And so there's 28 different lessons that you can get from, well, at least 28 different lessons that you can get from this book about things that people have learned from their father. So, and Scott, I think Scott's next book is Greatest Lessons I Learned from My Mom.
That's right.
Is the one.
Thank you for taking over, Chaffee. We had a dog catastrophe going on here.
Dogs and cats.
Dogs and cats. And then the guy is Spanish who, well, basically nobody has been here. It's been quiet all day except for an hour before we're supposed to go live, in which time the pool guy shows up and he starts cleaning the yard. And of course the dogs start barking. And then he comes and he wants to get a helmet, but he, I don't speak very good Spanish and he doesn't speak any English. And it's like, I don't know where the helmet is. So
good timing.
Yeah, so I thought he was just like goodbye, and it's like, no, I got a helmet here. Do you have those helmets? And no say. So, yes, and so lessons I learned in my entrepreneurial life is the third book.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah, so I'm going to be public. That'll be 5 books that I'm in, and almost all are co-written, and the fifth one, I don't remember when that was. That was a long time ago. But the fourth one is about podcasting. So I'm part of a bundle of podcast courses and stuff that comes out once a year. And they said, we want to write a book about podcasting. Who wants to be in it? So I wrote a chapter and I'm in it. And so for me, it's like really easy to write a book. It's the simplest thing in the world. I sit down and I spend half an hour. I churn out 750 words, and then I rearrange them in ways that make sense because originally they don't. And then I send it off to the guys and they read it and they go, oh, this is good. And
well, Scott, you bring up a good point, because when I write a book, when I'm creating my own book, like, and not everyone writes their own books, right? So, we've discussed that already. I mean, the majority of, these lessons books is not written by you. You have one chapter out of 28, and there's
right.
An introduction and then an ending and all that kind of stuff. So you're not doing a lot of work.
No, it's easy. I don't know what this writing a book is hard about. I don't understand that.
And if you are an author and you are writing your own book, though, the easiest thing to do is do exactly what you're doing, which is break each chapter or each subchapter down into a topic. And so all you have to do is sit down for 30 minutes, an hour, and write about that topic, and then put all those topics together. So each chapter is just, 750, 1,000 words. And then if you do that 10 times, now you got 10 chapters, right? And then all you have to do is write the intro and the conclusion, and now you have a book of 10 chapters or 20 chapters or however you want to do it. And that's so much easier than sitting down thinking, I got to write this entire book from beginning to end. What am I going to do? Well, if you just break it down, as we call it, chunk it down into individual chapters and then focus on just that chapter for that time period, then before you know it, you're done, right? And then you got a whole book.
I want to share a story that is a reverse writing story. You reminded me when you're talking about chunking it down. It was 20 years ago, I bought a course on copywriting. Hang on a second. They're fighting over it, but now 1-1, so it should be relatively quiet. So at the same time, I had a new job, And so I had to learn all of that. And every month they would send me out like a chapter, and I had like 5 chapters growing on my desk, and I thought, oh, how am I ever going to get through this? And I changed the question from how am I going to get through this to what could I do? And I thought, well, I go to bed and I, read for 20 minutes. I could just read a chapter, So that's what I did. And what I thought would take me years to get caught up was like just a couple months I was caught up. And I was really shocked at how fast that was, because it was just like, it was like overwhelming. And then it was like, oh, I just do a little bit a day. So, take a period of time, whatever, whether it's before dinner, after dinner, in the morning, first thing, and, throw it out there, let the dog get it. And but you have that same time and you get that habit. And then next thing you know, it's done. So that's really cool, because I was going to ask you for this. Wrong one.
You're going to ask me for today's guest.
Today's guest. I was at tip of the day is what I was looking for. And I guess I uploaded the wrong video. So today's guest, folks, is Chaffee and his books. No, I was going to say tip of the day, and we had the tip of the day. So hooray. But unfortunately, it was the wrong video. So we had talked about liking and subscribing. I'm going to get one right. So this is the one I'm going to get right. So make sure you do this. All right. So Chaffee, we're coming to the end of our time together today. It's been awesome having you as usual. Any last things you want to say, wrap up, share?
Well, we started this about taboo topics, and then we went on to chunking things down. So we've covered a lot. It's 30 minutes or so that we've been on. The only thing I would say is that, and I've said it before, is that when you're feeling things, when you have emotions, when you have a strong belief about something, one of the best things that you can do, instead of bottling that up and keeping it inside of yourself, is to share it and discuss it with people. And sometimes, whether it's just talking about it that's helping, or the reason why we're here is to write about it. And when you share that topic, when you share that belief, then you'll never know who you affect, and you can spread that belief, and you can spread those feelings that you have with other people, and that's just going to make everything better. That's going to start the conversation and rolling things. So be open to other people sharing, as well as share your thoughts and emotions and beliefs as well. You're on mute, Scott.
Wonderful. I think that was worth another set of applause. So thank you for joining us, everybody. Appreciate this thing popped up. It said you're muted, and that's oh no. So we appreciate you joining us. Make sure you leave some comments, tell your friends, and head over to free-ebooks.net. Join up. Take a look at some of the books. There's some amazing books there. We have textbooks, academic books, fiction. We've got the whole sci-fi, mystery, romance thing going on. And then we've got a whole bunch of nonfiction books covering a lot of topics. And we do have some children's sections. We just need some authors to put some books in there, and they'll show up. So if you look and you don't see it, that's just because we're still corralling those children's authors and getting them to join us. So thank you very much. Chaffee, you get the last word.
Go out and share.